example. Let's go. Okay, recording, let's open. So signature malleability, guys, sorry for my English if I'm gonna be reading here. Please don't get offended by my English. So signature malleability. In blockchain system, digital signatures are used to prove that a message or transaction comes from a specific person and has not been tampered with. Signature malleability is a vulnerability that can occur when improperly using ESCDSA signatures. This vulnerability allowed an attacker to change the signature slightly without invalidating the real signature. This often happens when a smart contract doesn't validate the signature properly, enabling attackers to modify them and potentially bypass security measures. I know that one of the big problems here is when people they don't validate the norms. So ideally, you should be making the signature with the nonce. So every time you sign something is different. But I know this is just one of the problems. We can have more stuff. So let's keep on going. In Ethereum, the EC recover function is used to verify signature. It is a pre-compiled contract. You guys know what a pre-compiled contract is? Cowardly, Felipe, Mario, everybody knows?
Nope, not at all.
So a precompiled contract is a contract so there are several ways to explain this, but basically is a contract that runs off chain. So he's deployed by Ethereum, by the Git node, to a specific address, and every node implementation is responsible for running that code. And you also can think on a precompiled as a contract that happened before time. So since block 0, the precompiles were already available. One big example of a precompile is the staking contract of Ethereum to the new Ethereum post merge, because they pretty much rebooted the chain, right? Just using the same data, but the chain was rebooted, and then they deployed the precompile of the staking contract, so it has a special address. Everything running there is run by the miners itself. And usually, why do we need precompiles? Because they do really heavy things like heavy operations in math. They do complicated things that would be slow and expensive to do on smart contracts. So precompiles will help us with that. Okay. So let's go for the rest of okay. So you can see in this case we're using this EC recover function is a precompile, and we are using that to verify that the public elliptic curve, which is this thing here, which is expensive to process. Usually people do that with video cards. So that's why it's in the precompile. Okay. This means that it can recover a public key, an address from a given signature. Perfect. In a CDSA, a digital signature is represented by a pair of values, R and S. Those values along with another value called recovery identifier, V. So we have R, S, and V. Those are crucial for the signature verification process. The signature from a 60-byte long string, the signature is in form of a 65-byte long string. However, these bytes are always later split to 3 components as briefly touched above. Last one, byte V. First 32 bytes and second 32 bytes. So V is the last byte, while R and S is simply the signature to split it in half. The V is the recovery ID, which can have 2 values, 0 or 1, corresponding to 2 sides of the axis. So here we're looking at the 2 sides. Okay. R. What is R? A value derived from the from the elliptic curve point, y and x. Let's search it here. I think maybe here. This thing, I don't know. Generating during the signing process, the R value is the X coordinate of that point. S, a value calculated during the signing process using the private key, message hash, and the R and R. The S value is meant to prove that the signer has knowledge of the private key without revealing it. V, the recovery identifier, which is used to recover the correct public key from the signature. Okay, let's go. The EC recover function by itself does not provide any protection against signature malleability attacks. Oh, I wrote malleability wrong. Let me just fix that before more people see it. Even more people see it. Oh, someone. Oh, he's fixed now? I don't understand. Okay, he's fixed somehow. Signatures are malleable, meaning that they can be altered without invalidating the signature. For every valid signature, R and S, there is another valid signature with a different S value. Let's call it S. In Ethereum, the V value can also be changed accordingly. This is because the elliptic curve is symmetric, and for each point on the curve, there is a corresponding point that maintains the same relationship. An attacker can exploit this by altering the V, R, and S values of the signature and still pass the EC recover verification. The function takes four arguments: the hash of the message, the recovery identifier, and the two values for R and S that make up the signature. So let's go for maybe a little bit of an easier explanation. Imagine you have a magical safe that can only be opened using the secret password. You can also have a special timestamp, your signature, that lets everyone know that you approved something. One day, you decide to send a letter to your friend, ask them to give you some gold. You stamp the letter with some special signature so they know is really from you. However, there's a mischievous leprechaun named Owen who knows how your magic stamp works. He figures out that if he can create a different looking stamp and still prove it's from you. Here's how he does it step by step. Owen intercepts your letter before he reads your friend, examines your signature, figures out how to make a new stamp that looks different but still work like the original. Owen uses the new stamp on a different letter, asking your friend to give him some code instead. He sends the modified letter to your friend. Now your friend receives the letter with a different looking signature, but they still believe it's from you because the medical box only can be opened with your signature. Your friend gives gold to Owen, thinking they're helping you. So kind of an MEV interception here. In this example, the magical box is like the EC recover function solidity, which checks for if the signature is valid. Your timestamp is the signature of V, R, and S values, and the mischievous leprechaun Owen is the attacker manipulating the signature. The gold represents the action you want to perform in the smart contract. To protect against this kind of attacks, you need a more secure way of creating and checking your signature, like using a well-tested library or adding extra conditions to your magical stamp. This way, Owen wouldn't be able to trick your friend into giving him away the gold. What is the impact? Signature malleability vulnerability can lead to unauthorized actions or transactions in a smart contract, tampering with signature data to avoid security checks, pretending to be someone else, or falsely attributing actions to others. Nice. So depending on how you use the logic here, you can get screwed in different ways. Very interesting. Let's keep going. So let's take a look at the example here from OpenZeppelin at the ACDCSA library. In older functions, did not implement specific checks to mitigate signature malleability attacks. However, it's essential to note that OpenZeppelin has since improved its let me check something. Improved its library to handle such vulnerabilities. Here's an example of a vulnerable smart contract that uses an older version of OpenZeppelin's ECDSA library. So this is a vulnerable contract. Uses the older OpenZeppelin library, and let's see how things are going wrong here. So we have, first thing we have the type of the contract for bytes 32, an address for the owner, balances, classic stuff, setting the owner in the constructor. Now function claim tokens. So we pass in the amount and the signature. Then we calculate the hash based on message sender and the amount. Then we use the hash to with sign message. Signer equals message.hash.recover. Requires silence equal, otherwise there will be an invalid signature. Like just from reading this, I cannot see any security problems. So that was tricky about Web3 security because I mean, I know you can have problems with signatures, but there's nothing obvious jumping to my eyes here regarding problems. Let's keep going. In this contract, users can claim tokens by providing a signature that proves that the owner approval for the specified amount. In this contract, users can claim tokens by providing a signature that proves that the owner approval for the owner approval for the specified amount. The contract relies on OpenZeppelin older library to recover the signer address from the signature, but doesn't validate as or use a signature or use a valid secure validation method. Doesn't validate as. So let's see how an attacker would exploit this. So once again, we're loading the library and reloading the contract, the vulnerable contract. We're passing the address of the vulnerable contract, and now we're going to manipulate the signature. So now imagine that you're going to come here and I'm going to take the signature from you, and then what we do is we split the signature, then we do v to this module with v. I don't know what they are doing here, probably then they manipulate the s, making a division here for 2. Yeah, so the attacker manipulates the signature by finding an alternative R and S pair, adjusting the V value accordingly. So he's trying to find the corresponding points of this signature. Okay. Attack.
Oh,
Yeah, so he's trying to find these points on the
yeah.
other side here. Seems to be like a not so hard to do because he's doing this with some basic coding here. So
Yeah, like the
maybe the
mod
side.
2, yeah, changing in the division by 2, it's like 50 for the right,
Mm-hmm.
15 bits.
Makes a lot of sense, bro. So now we run the attack, we pass in the amount, and we pass in the manipulated signature. And the vulnerable contract can be, so let's see the explanation. The owner signs a message approving a user to claim 100 tokens. The attacker identifies the message by finding and modifies by finding an alternative R and S pair, adjusting the V value accordingly. The attacker sends a transaction to the claim token functions with the manipulated signature. The contract accepts the manipulated signature because it still passes the EC recovery check, allowing the attacker to claim tokens they shouldn't have access to. To mitigate this vulnerability, the smart contract should use the latest version of OpenZeppelin library, which includes a check against that. Okay. Let's take a look at the fixed contract. Make sure to enforce a specific condition on the S value during the signature validating process. Ensure that it has low value. This prevents attackers from manipulating the signature. Use a well-tested library like OpenZeppelin that already implements a secure signature validation process. Here's an improved version of the contract using the OpenZeppelin library. So we can see that now we have the same scheme, but now we do first a validation for the owner, and after we do a validation for the signature, because to see which side of the tangent the signature is. So in that high S value, very interesting. In this updated contract, we replace the custom invalid signature with a function from OpenZeppelin. This library enforces low S volume during the signature validation, ensuring a secure implementation that is resistant to signature malleability attacks. The hash recover function, which comes from the library, securely checks the signature and returns the address of the signer. The function then checks to see if the return address matches the expected signer, ensure the signature validity. I like it, you know. I don't know if I can audit this already, but I guess if I see now that we're only doing that, you're not checking for S on a smart contract, I can say, hey, you're lacking. Are you using OpenZeppelin latest version? Because that will make it for you or not. Because here we're doing it kind of manually, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I am using one contract that don't have the security measure.
Yeah. Whoa. Take a good look. Take a good look, bro.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the old I think the Uniswap router. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Okay. Let's
oh,
go for I don't know if let's go for another vulnerability. There's another one that is a little bit on the harder side here, which is the read reentrancy. We have the read and we also have the price oracle manipulation. I'm gonna go for price oracle manipulation. Okay. So oracle price manipulation vulnerability occurs when a smart contract relies on external data source like an oracle to provide information. Such as prices for tokens, an attacker can manipulate that data source to provide false information, leading to unintended consequences in the smart contract execution. Oracles are third-party services that provide external data to a smart contract since they cannot access off-chain information by themselves. An attacker who successfully manipulates an oracle data can exploit a smart contract, leading to various undesirable outcomes such as theft of funds, incorrect token swaps, unintended liquidations. Oracle price manipulation vulnerability can severely undermine the trust in a smart contract, and users cannot rely on the correctness of the information provided by the oracle. So let's go for the explanation. Imagine you or your friends are trading baseball cards. To make sure everyone trades fairly, you all need to rely on a wise person called Oracle to tell what is the value of each card. One day, your sneak friend Bob wants to get a more valuable card without giving up on the one of the same value. He knows everyone trusts the Oracle, so he comes up with a sneak plan. Bob waits a moment when someone wants to trade a baseball card with him. Just before the trade, Bob tricks the Oracle into thinking that his card is worth much more than it actually is. Since everyone trusts the Oracle, they believe the incorrect value and agree to trade Bob's card for less. Trade a and agree to trade a more card, one card more, I guess, for Bob less valuable one. After the trade, the Oracle realizes the mistake, but it's too late. The trade already happened and Bob got a better card without giving up a fair one. Okay, let's take a look at the example here. So we have interface for the oracle and a function to get the price. We have a simple DEX here with the oracle, both tokens. We put them in the constructor, and during the swap you pass in the amount and we get the price from the oracle. In this example, the smart contract token swap relies on the getExchange function provided by external oracle to determine if the exchange rate between token A and B. If an attacker can manipulate the oracle data and alter the exchange rate, they can exploit the smart contract and exchange tokens at a rate that is beneficial to them but bad to the users. Let's consider that an attacker has control over a malicious oracle and can manipulate the exchange provided by the oracle. The attacker can then exploit the token swap contract to trade tokens at an unfair rate. Set the price, and then so for the malicious oracle, what we have is a function to setting the price of the exchange rate and a function to get it. The malicious contract allows the attacker to set the exchange rate through the function, assuming that the vulnerable contract is using the malicious oracle already. Set manipulated exchange the rate in the malicious oracle contract to a rate that is favorable for the attacker. Very low rate for selling and buying. Interacting with the contracts and the swap tokens function, passing the amounts of token A to be sold, the contract will use the manipulated exchange rate, allowing the attacker to buy token B at a significantly lower price than fair market rate. Repeat this process to exploit the vulnerability and accumulate large amounts of token B at unfair rates. So the idea here is you manipulate the pools, the price, and you can buy a lot of tokens or sell a lot of tokens. Let's take a look at the remediation, because this is an interesting one, because how are you going to remediate that, right? How are you going to solve that problem? So what we're talking about here is using multiple trusted oracles. So instead of using just one oracle, we can use several. Use a decentralized oracle network like Chainlink and everything. Verify the integrity of the oracle data. So you're gonna have some safety mechanisms in your smart contract. So if the price changed too much in the last hour, then there's something fishy, and you can just stop, pause for a moment, wait everything got okay. Just one thing that I would like to add here is the TWAP price from Uniswap, because there's two ways you can get prices on Uniswap. You can look at the Uniswap pairs, Uniswap pair, and get the reserves. I think this is it, or is the LP. So here, if you get the reserves, technically you can divide one by the other, and you're gonna get the rate of exchange of both tokens. But they also have something really